Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin, and I'm a little bit hyped when it comes to BlizzCon and what we might see for World of Warcraft. Honestly, I cannot wait for whatever's next patch we'll have, whatever expansion we might have, because currently it's just a phase where everybody is kind of getting bored and just waiting for the next new thing to come out. So I just wanted to make a video to compile everything that I see online that gets me hyped and excited. I'm not the kind of channel that wants to go into deep detail on all the things that are coming out, but I do want to kind of share my hype with everybody else. So here I decided to combine 5 top predictions that everybody is predicting when it comes to future World of Warcraft and stuff coming out for BlizzCon 2017. First of all, everything is speculative here. It is a lot of just bits and pieces being pieced together and a lot of, I guess, hopes. But I mean, there's a lot of leaks left and right, and people are trying to figure out whether the leaks are right or wrong, but the hype definitely is building, and I think most of the leaks are happening by Blizzard because these guys won the game hype more than anybody else. So let's get on to the video. Now, everything that I'm going to name here isn't going to be in particular order, like 5 being the least exciting and 1 being the most exciting. It just lists from 1 through 5, top 5 things overall that made me excited, so they're not going to be in particular order. The first one is JAINA and SYLVANAS' story. For the most part, JAINA has been gone since, I think, the end of World of General or beginning of Legion. And SYLVANAS, while she was here for a little bit, after her cutscene, where she got cock-blocked by Greymane, she's basically being AFK. So both of these two are AFK, and it seems like there's a bit of a build-up that something needs to happen, something big. JAINA, last time she walked out, all pissed at everybody that they're letting the Horde back into Dalaran. She's been AFK since, so I think it's time for her to come back. There have been a lot of posters for her at BlizzCon as like the main front hand. I mean, it's a pretty big character for World of Warcraft, but it feels like a lot of people are saying they're putting too much emphasis onto JAINA at the very front of the posters. Blizzard even teased about JAINA in Hearthstone turning her a Lich King version and making her Dreadlord in Heroes of the Storm, which a bunch of theories have been going around. Anyway, both of those characters have been away from the game for a while, so it's time for both of them to make a comeback, and that's what a lot of people are excited about. Number 2 on my list is the South Seas expansion, an expansion somewhere in the seas. A lot of people are saying that after fighting some huge major threats like the destruction of the whole world and the whole demon invasion, it's time to have a relaxation expansion, kind of like Mr. Pandaria, just not a lame version. Back to the Horde versus Alliance conflict to really grind you back to, I guess, the world of Azeroth and other unexplored areas that are, well, unexplored. Instead of fighting the world-ending horrors all day now, back to back. I feel like a relaxation expansion would be nice. Plus, if you bring in the seas, besides the very much unwelcome sea combat, which I don't think we'll see a lot, even though we'll be in the sea, I think we'll also have some ships. Now, the ships are an opportunity for maybe guild housing. How about the airships? They do have a ticket mount. If you buy the ticket for BlizzCon, you get 2 mounts, one for Alliance and for Horde. Could those type of ships, or even a bigger version, be playing a role in the next expansion? What I'm saying with this is there's a lot of opportunities to explore here and discover to simply make a fun expansion. Even if they don't have some huge emphasis on some kind of world-ending events, they can still do something exciting, a lot like what they did in Pandaria, except without the downtime of the patches and maybe a lot more quality of what Legion has been able to provide. Just overall more fun and a lot of opportunity here. Now, number 3 on the list is a possibility for a Tinkerer class. There are some suggestions that this might be a class in the game, and others saying not really. What we have so far is a Tinkerer class that would be assigned to maybe goblins and gnomes, which there have been a few spoilers of like, hey, here's a forum post detailing everything that I have about the new expansion. Some of them are hoaxes, but possibly could be the real thing, and a lot of the spoilers have been bringing up the word Tinkerer back to back. It will be interesting because it will make gnomes and goblins unique and maybe even more played. When they added demon hunters into the game and like only night elves and only blood elves can be them, night elves and blood elves for the most part were pretty popular in terms of play, whether PvE or PvE, as the races in terms of customization, the female models and male models are pretty good to look at. Most people would want their characters to look something like that instead of the dwarves or the scrawny humans or maybe the short gnomes or the goblins. Those guys have been interesting, but they don't have anything specifically special about them except for gnomes' mount sizes. And to bring in a class specific for gnomes and goblins would allow players to explore a little bit more lore within those two races, and will allow those races, and there's plenty of people that enjoy the short guys in the game, to allow those players to be able to have some kind of a special emphasis about themselves. The two most intelligent races get in their own class. Plus, it will also allow us to make another male class that wears male besides hunters and shamans, so a lot more male gear to go around, maybe a lot more stats, a lot more play options, and I think overall the more classes the merrier. Of course, the balancing is always going to be a nightmare, but I'd rather have more new exciting classes and a lot of class redons rather than a fully balanced game, because I feel like there can be a lot of fun even if the game is not fully balanced. Number 4 is a possibility for a new race, and there is two that people are theorizing. Maybe we'll have both of them, maybe one of them, maybe none of them, but what people are theorizing is the NAGA and the ETHERIALS as a possible playable race. What Blizzard have done in the past with all the expansions is they've done an alternation between a new race or a new class. BC, there were the JAINA and the Blood Elves. In Wrath of the Lich King, everybody got to play Death Knights, the hero class. In Cataclysm, we saw the Worgen and the Goblins, and in Mists of Pandaria, we actually saw a mix of race and a class. But in Warlords General, we didn't see one or the other, so it seems like in Mists of Pandaria, we got both of each, but in Warlords, we didn't get a lot. Although in Warlords, they did do a really good job on all the vanilla races in terms of adjusting their new models, as well as the Blood Elves and the Draenei. So in a way, that's almost like a new race, or a half a race overhaul for 10 different races in the game. And in Legion we saw a class, so it's a possibility that they might go back and add another race. Now when people theorize which race would they add, the NAGA is a possibility. First of all, they've been a fan favorite, and now that we see the NAGA align themselves not only with Azshara but also with Illidari, we see that NAGA technically could ally themselves with the Alliance of the Horde, since they do decide to ally themselves with the Illidari, the Demon Hunters. But the Ethereals also have been added into the game with all new, brand new models, maybe enough customization for all these models to make a customizable character. Also, these guys are fleeing from the void, and there's a possibility that some of them might be able to turn on their own kind, and it would be a similar situation to Death Knights. Death Knights used to be part of Lich King's army, and then they turn on their maker. So it could be a possibility that the NAGA might turn on Queen Azshara and work with Illidari and join one of the Horde or Alliance, or be a neutral race. And Ethereals could also turn to, try to find help somewhere else. They could turn onto the Void Lords and the other Ethereals by allying themselves with Alliance of Horde, or maybe as a neutral race. There's a lot of possibilities, but there's also issues of how would the pants look on them, how would the shoes look, especially for the NAGA not having legs or feet. Gear problems, how would that look in terms of customizability, how would the vanilla sets look on the new races, because if you try some of the vanilla sets or older sets on classes on races like Worgen or Goblins, they look a little bit stretched and a little bit out of whack. If you look at Pandaren trying to wear some vanilla pieces of gear, it just looks a little bit funny and just does not fit whatsoever. But those are some polished models and they've been adjusted, so I guess there could be a possibility that we might get a new race. Now the number 5 is the last one, the ability to have light versus dark, the light versus the void, the Naru versus Void Lord type of conflict, and whole new conflict, maybe a possibility for whole new factions. So while we normally have the red versus the blue, the Alliance versus the Horde faction in our combat, with Legion we got introduced the concept of the light not always being good and the void not always being the bad. It's really a gray area, as we see Turelian, who is part of the light, he contributes to the light, follows the light, but we saw the light also try to harm Illidan in a way, and he rejected it, as the Nara was thinking that what she is doing is the right thing. Alaria, on the other hand, contributes to the void and goes with the void, even trying to find ways to embrace the void without completely turning into a batshit evil character. So this is a possibility for us to see some interfaction combat. While we do have Horde versus Alliance, we might even have new faction of Light versus Dark. A lot like how in BC they had the Blood Elf faction and then the Draenei faction, and even if you were Horde or Alliance, you could choose either one of those factions. And there's a possibility for Naru faction versus the Void faction combat and content. Since the whole system is a really gray matter, not really black and white, one is evil, one is good, there's a possibility for all this. So there could be inner alliances between Alliance and Horde, and maybe some possibilities for Alliance characters and Horde characters that are, let's say, with the Void, to be able to do content together to a certain case, and vice versa for the Naru and the Light side. So that could be a possibility, although I don't really know how Blizzard would go about, I guess, enabling it, and I feel like if they were to do it, and if they did it a lot like they happen in BC, that would be a little bit lame, because that simply just allowed you to be allied with one faction or the other and see the members of the opposite and same faction within those same zones or talk to the same NPCs. But what would be cool is if you actually was able to do content with the people of your light or dark faction. So for me personally, if I were to see this, I feel like this one is really unlikely, but if I were to see this, I hope they really do this right, so you actually get content to do with players of your faction. And anyway, that's about everything that I have for you guys in terms of all the things that are hyping up for BlizzCon. Let me know your favorite part and what you thought is a possibility here out of all the things that I have listed. If even one of these things comes true, JAINA story, South Seas expansion, the NAGA's ETHERIALS, or the TRINKERER class comes true, then honestly I'll be happy. But I'm at a point where I just am expecting anything new, anything exciting to appear. Thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in the next video.